Lee, thank you very much for your time and for joining me at Smell Like a Data Cleaning Room Spirit, our podcast from Data Cleaning Room Alliance.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So, Lee, could you introduce a little bit yourself?
Sure. So I have been in technology for the better part of 25 plus years. Most of that time has been in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've worked in ad tech, in media at Facebook before it was Meta. And now more recently, I'm running product management for all the audience products within Adobe Experience Cloud.
Oh my God, so you have lived everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
That's good. So, because you have this experience, which is so broad from different companies from San Francisco, from the area, from tech, uh, how do you see that? What lessons do you have from you can bring to the CDP area and specific with data activation and data sharing?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things, I joined Adobe 2.5 years ago. I'd spent a lot of time in ad tech. I'd sort of been looking at Adobe. I was admiring Adobe from the time they bought Omniture and really started the MarTech industry. Having been at Facebook, I realized the power of first party data, right? And at Adobe with our CDP platform, that's the core premise of the real time customer data platform. Bringing all that first party data in, that's been the fuel of MarTech since the beginning. Now with a less cookied environment or moving to a less cookied environment, and also beyond just that, the privacy rules that are coming into place, whether it's GDPR or California or Australia, and really the power of using that first party data in media. That was the core premise of Ads Manager and Facebook back in the early 2000s. We're seeing those worlds collide. So we're even seeing companies where the terminology is no longer the MarTech person and the ad tech person, it's the mad tech person. So it's an interesting time to be at Adobe and in the CDP group, working and expanding our functionality into we like to say data collaboration, not data clean room, because data clean room is such a technical word and confusing, but the data clean room collaboration space.
Sounds really interesting. So, because of our audience that might be listening right now can be a little bit broad, could you clarify what is a CDP and a data cleaning room or data sharing and how they fit together, how they work together?
Yeah. So a CDP is a customer data platform. This is a market that emerged probably around 10 years ago. It's really for enterprises that have complex businesses and parts to their business to bring together that unified view of their customers. So whether it's people shopping in their stores, people buying online, their customers across business units, that unified profile is the key value proposition of what CDPs do. And then activating that for marketing use cases. We like to say personalization at scale at Adobe, but really it's gone beyond that. We have a B2B CDP, so it spans sales, marketing, and service today. And being able to do that with that unified profile, and also intelligent activation at scale. More and more so, we're seeing companies that we had a financial services company in America that wanted to personalize their app and experience for all households in America in one day. And you have to do that at massive scale. So those are the things that CDPs do. It's now a maturing market. So I think a lot of the Fortune 2000 and larger enterprises have invested or begun to invest in that CDP. And then the data clean room is a little bit more complex. I think the terminology around that is evolving. When people think of data clean room, there's probably 3 different types we like to point to. One is a infrastructure data clean room. That's like a Snowflake or a Databricks or an AWS clean room, where it's a traditional data clean room where you can bring data in and it has certain controls to let you share that first party data with 2 different companies in a very privacy safe way. There's other data clean rooms, which we call the walled garden data clean rooms, like Amazon AMC or Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is an Amazon ads data clean room that lets you do that with all the Amazon data around your campaigns. And then there's a new set of what we call data collaboration or data collaboration tools that sit between all of these things. They may or may not use data clean rooms, and they really bring simplicity and ease to that data clean room operation. But the real point of a data clean room is to replace some of the things we used to do with another three-letter acronym like a DMP and third-party cookies to let you really share that data between two organizations, but in a much more privacy-safe way that's compliant with GDPR and the various evolving privacy standards.
Interesting. So, what is the approach in Adobe around data clean room and data sharing in comparison with other players in the market?
Yeah, I think our biggest differentiation. I think first and foremost, our data collaboration or data clean room tool can stand on its own, and it's fairly innovative around a few different premises, which is simplicity. One of the things that customers and companies gave feedback on when we were developing this product is it's really hard to use data clean rooms, whether it's Amazon, which we're launching in our product with a much more simpler user interface, or a infrastructure data clean room. How do we bring efficiencies to using it? We love the privacy, but we don't want to spend 3 weeks and a data engineer to figure out how to run a campaign in the paid media world. So simplicity is at the core of what we bring. And the other thing is with Adobe, we're a technology first company. So we can integrate into the infrastructure data clean rooms, but we don't even really sit on a database. Our data collaboration tool is completely mathematical, keeps all the data in wherever it's located, whether it's a CDP or an external data warehouse, and really just brings the mathematical representation of that data in a very condensed way. So it solves one of the other big issues, which is interoperability. How do I work between clouds, between regions? And because we're not a data company, between data providers like UTIC or ID5 or others that might exist in the European market. But on top of that, that's the data cleanroom product, which we call Real-Time CDP Collaboration. I think one of our most unique aspects is that we're the first CDP company to introduce a data cleanroom tool, right? So it integrates seamlessly into the CDP, because the most important thing is bringing all your first party data together, whether you're a retailer, a media company, a financial services company. With that, you can then run these data cleanroom use cases within minutes. We had a few publishers launch in Australia a couple months ago. They launched as publishers, media companies, into our data collaboration tool within hours versus what would typically take many, many weeks.
Cool. So, what is the main challenge, the functionality of data sharing in the CDP has for you? What is and how is solved with Adobe?
Yeah. So again, I think the key things we want to solve are the simplicity. We've sort of built all the use cases into our platform, so we allow you to share with brands. So there's brand to brand sharing within the CDP. We allow you to share with media companies. So we've integrated many media companies. You can even invite non-Adobe customers and start data sharing. So work outside of the Adobe ecosystem. We focused on 3 of the sort of primary use cases, which is planning and activation. How do I enrich my audiences with someone else's first party data, which is known as second party data? And then the second one is activation without moving any of that data. And then the third is measurement. So integrating all the impression logs from the media companies so you can, in a privacy safe way, bring all your conversions and information as a brand and do end-to-end closed loop reporting. So those are the things that we've solved for in the first implementation of this, but there's a lot to come as we launch in Europe in Q4. We want to also bring real-time lookalike models and do more retail and commerce media use cases within the platform.
So, something that you have said that has come to my attention is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you are a non-Adobe customer, you can join this data sharing option. How that works?
Yeah, so this is a really unique go-to-market for Adobe, for any Adobe customers out there. So all CDP customers get collaboration, and they get a certain amount of credits to start using collaboration. So you can go do a proof of concept, work with another brand immediately when it launches in Spain. And then the second thing is, if you're a collaboration customer, you would buy a certain amount of credits. You use them mainly for the activation and measurement, which is most tied to the value that you're getting. But if you choose to invite someone, You can invite them. They get their own instance of CDP collaboration, and they can work with you. It would just use your credits. So you just need one paying customer, and you can have a 2, 3, 4, 5-way collaboration in the future, right? So we really wanted to make this a tool that worked outside the Adobe ecosystem. So they would have to bring their data in through a connection with a data warehouse or CSV file or some other technical connection. Whereas if you're a CDP customer, it's a matter of clicks. Like, you can do it within minutes.
That's interesting. So, what type of data can you share on the data sharing collaboration?
Yeah, so you can share any audiences, and we can match on first-party data. So it could be email and something very loose like an IP address, mobile number,
Okay.
and then we're building integrated support for various IDs, right? So there's in America, there's like Axiom has obviously got the Real ID. We're working closely with them as well as other providers in Australia as well as in Europe. We'll be looking to work with some of the local players here because there's very unique identity solutions like UTIC that we want to work with so that you can do all the matching. And then on top of that, you can bring any level of enriched audience knowledge on top of that, but you got to match it with one or more of those data fields.
Interesting. So, what are the learning you are seeing from customers who starts using data collaboration?
Yeah, I think some of the learnings, there's a variety of different. We've been running live campaigns in the US for probably the better part of a year and a half, and now we're starting to launch live campaigns in Australia and New Zealand, and we just launched Canada 2 weeks ago. There's the traditional incremental results on advertising. So Adobe, as an advertiser, worked with one of our TV publishers and was able to enrich their audiences, build better creative, and drive more brand lift. One of the early case studies was with Comcast, working with their sister company, NBCU, driving much higher match rates and hence driving better returns. So there's an entire class of those types of learnings. There's also just deeper measurement insights. So when you have a privacy-safe way of sharing data, it's more than you would get in a traditional media report. We have an education company that can connect all their sales data through a much more complex funnel to impression logs from a connected TV company and really be able to optimize that over time as well. And then the third class is, especially for the media companies, operational efficiencies, right? So we had a media company that said every time we do one of these data collaborations, it drives incremental spend to our business, but it takes me 1 or 2 engineers for each campaign. We're now seeing that drop radically with our tools because they're on CDP, they're using our collaboration tool, and it's driving massive operational efficiencies. And those are just a few of them. We're starting to see some really interesting partnerships in the retail and commerce media space as well.
Interesting. So, if we can dig a little bit, what are the emergency use cases you're seeing that are different from targeting and measurement, which are different?
Yeah, I think some of the interesting things for us, and this is one of the mega trends for us, is we're seeing owned marketing work more closely with the paid media side. So the typical things we've done historically with Adobe Target and AJO and campaign around email, omnichannel, and site personalization, we're seeing collaboration feed that too, where the enriched audiences are brought back into the CDP and change based on information that the publisher enriched with the brand, and then the brand site is actually personalized based on all those segments. That is something that's really interesting for us. And then we're seeing the emergent commerce media use cases. So obviously every market, there's a lot of hype and a lot of interest in retail media and commerce media. Within commerce media, obviously travel is one of the verticals that's taking off. So we see, interesting data sharing around how a travel company like an airline might have that initial data, but partnering with a media company to figure out how to combine both the data and the media once they know someone's going to be taking a trip to Spain, for instance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this obviously changed the way we measurement multi-channel orchestration. How do you handle that?
In terms of cross-publisher or the...
even in the same company?
Yeah.
How do you addressing that data sharing functionality with measurement of multi-channel?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. It alludes to the first point I made around the what some people are calling integrated, but like really measuring across the
Mm-hmm.
full journey. We're new. We're those are like interesting areas that the the big barrier is really the organizations we work with that have separate teams between
Mm-hmm.
the paid and owned. It's an area we both through this tool and through AJO, which is our omni-channel email and push notification multi-channel tool, we want to understand the touch points that you're touching your customers so that you know, for instance, you don't want to over fatigue a certain set of customers with media and email and other things if you have that global view on those customers. We also want to make sure we build connections between emergent media organizations and their marketing organizations. You're not monetizing people necessarily through your new media operations, including off your properties, much more than, and also over marketing to them. So those are the conversations we're having. All that data somewhat exists, but sometimes it's easy to put it together, sometimes less so because it's not
Mm-hmm.
always individualized. But those are the challenges we're trying to tackle in the new year, right? As customers come to us and ask those same questions.
Cool. So moving now more on the geo difference of use
Yeah.
of second party data. So in Spain, a reference on digital marketing is always United States.
Yeah.
We feel like
Yeah.
it's the most advanced digital market in the world.
Sure.
And one of the things we ask ourselves if how spread is the data sharing second party data in US?
Yeah. We think of our benchmark market. I'm Canadian, so I feel like we have the same perspective on America growing up just north of the border. But the Australia, New Zealand market we see as the most sophisticated when it
Really?
comes to second party data sharing or data collaboration. They've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's both on the brands and the publishers. The publishers are fairly sophisticated, whether it's premium newspaper publishers or TV. So that's an area where we see a lot of the sophistication coming from. The US, definitely, I think the US has led from a consumer first perspective. The cutting of the cables and connected TV media organizations tend to be very privacy oriented in terms of how they share data. And they have that data to share with more streamers and first party data. Now, also, the US led very much in retail media with Amazon and
Mm-hmm.
Walmart. So, again, a lot of addressable data there. So I'm not saying the US is a laggard, but they're also pockets of it where a data collaboration, data clean room is critical because it's really about that first party data and connecting that first and second party data. We're also seeing we just launched in Canada, but Canada is also an area where retail media and off-site retail media, where you have a partnership between a retailer and a media company, is getting pushed more aggressively. So that's an area we're looking to for the retail and commerce media use cases as well.
From my experience, working experience, I have seen that reaching agreements of second party data is so difficult. I have
So difficult.
only made two in my professional life,
Yeah.
and they were in the times of the DMP, which
I
was
remember
another.
we still have a DMP. Yeah.
And I remember Adobe has a similar functionality for data sharing in that moment.
Yeah.
So technology uh, can help to reduce barriers internally in the company. What are the main obstacles you find in the companies for data sharing or for introducing this technology, this way of sharing data?
Yeah, I think data sharing agreements, as you pointed out, is one of the big obstacles. The business teams, the marketing teams, the media teams are generally
Mm-hmm.
wanting to try out that they know their partners, right? Like you said, you work at BBVA right now, you know who your partners are. We have heard from some of our largest media publishers that the time taken to sign some of these data sharing agreements is getting better. So the legal
Mm-hmm.
teams are getting more used to it. Our own legal and privacy team, and obviously Adobe has very strict legal and privacy standards, has said that with Adobe Clean Sketches, you can actually
Mm-hmm.
do the first use case, which is overlaps. We don't require a data sharing agreement there because of the privacy enhancing technology. And you can even, our recommendation is just get started by enriching your first party data with second party data. and do that with a lighter data sharing agreement because it's a lot, and maybe don't worry about all the usage, just lock it down in our tool initially with just that overlaps and no activation. So you can at least build that understanding and see the power of working with first and second party data, and then do a more complicated data sharing agreement down the line. Because I think that's an approach that we're seeing work, but it's still a friction point, obviously, when you have to go to lawyers and privacy officers within an organization, especially a large bank, but many verticals, right? Like retailers, media companies, most of them are very sensitive with all their first party data.
Now, if I will be a lawyer, this field will be so complex for me to understand.
So
and if we
complex.
start talking about how, in a private way, you are sharing data,
Yeah.
becomes so abstract to understand for them. So I understand this requires a lot of time and investment from internal marketing teams to push these kind of initiatives. So it has been a big ban since the arrival of generative AI. And again, the digital environment, digital ecosystem has been even more fragmented.
Yeah.
So how is Adobe and with data sharing helping to try to reconnect the dots in the digital ecosystem?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting conversation because I think it's partial. Generative AI and agents will obviously build whole new ad ecosystems, and that's going to happen relatively quickly, but it's never as quick as we think. But I think even in the splintering of cable to all these streaming channels, and maybe they're merging again, but like there's now many retail media companies. There's airlines are building travel media companies. FSIs looking and getting into media. It's very fragmented, and getting more fragmented. As we know, media buying agencies, you don't like, you don't want to buy media against 100 different companies in a media plan. I see data collaboration tools like ours helping build a unified view of all that media for maybe alliances or sales partnerships, or in the US you have United in terms of their connected business trying to be that travel media network for multiple players. But they're going to have to figure out ways to share that first party data. It's not the world of cookies anymore or ad networks. This is a new world that we live in, and data collaboration tools are going to be that glue that lets you still provide that reach and that targeted reach of like audiences for your various business. So I see a lot of fragmentation, but we know it's going to get back to aggregation at some point.
Makes sense. Indeed, I have never thought that way. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So which marketing martech trend are you following right now?
I think like with my other hat of the CDP business, I'm very interested in how because it's a consumer data platform, so you have to obviously track consumers. So I think the world of personal agents, so ChatGPT and Gemini or DeepSeek or Claude, is extremely interesting because it's going to change how we get information, but also change how we use the internet. How we agentic browsing might mean I use agents to click for me in another browser or my own browser. Personalization changes. Like a lot of our business is about how we look at websites and how we personalize experiences. And at the same time, the richness of data is changing. Brands, if they interact in an agentic way or through chatbots with their customers, are moving from getting first-party data, so that's clicks and attributes, to true, if you want to use the term zero-party data, true insights, right? As long as there's a value exchange. Maybe I buy Nike shoes or Ons. I'm not really a runner. I just walk around Madrid all day, right? They would never know that if I just go buy some shoes on the website. Now, through these interactions, they're going to have more of this rich data. So as this world emerges, how we store data, how we use that data for personalization is going to change. And those are the things that are top of mind as consumer behavior on the internet and in mobile goes through a rapid transformation.
I couldn't agree more with you. I remember reading like 12 years ago about cognitive assistants.
Yeah.
That's what they were called right before. And now they are becoming a reality. So before we finish, what would you like to remember from this conversation for the audience? What would you highlight for them? What would you like them to take away?
Yeah, I think this has been a data cleanroom conversation, but really the core of this is for businesses in the future, whether it's for their paid media or their other marketing or just how they manage their customer experience, investing in their platform to manage first-party data is going to be critical. And then with that, investing in how you enrich that with more insights about your customers in this new agentic era. So I would really say like that is the foundation of everything. Then you can get to the fun stuff with data clean rooms and stuff, but you really have to have a firm data strategy to start.
Completely true. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time, Ali.
Thank you so much for having me.